Your hold's in his hands, in the darkness and the trials. He's faithful and he's true. Your whole world's in his hands. It's all again.
Oh, that's what I needed to do. Unflag. Creo que ya. Creo que ya. Where did we leave off yesterday? Page 52. We left off yesterday in the exciting story of Herod Agrippa II, who died in AD 100 after siding with the Romans and retiring. Agrippa sided with the Romans after the destruction of Jerusalem, and he retired to Rome, and he died in AD 100. Welcome to Be Lit, where we read through a college-level freshman course textbook just for the literal fun of it. And let me just make sure that everything is live here, and I hope that you guys watching now or watching later will enjoy the storytelling. Today, we are going to talk about the Jewish War of AD 66 through 70. And this led to, of course, the destruction of Jerusalem. Let's get started. I hope y'all can hear me. I just want to make sure everything is fine real quick. I think everything is, yeah. So what we have here is during the AD 44 to 66 period, there was a succession of bad procurators over the territory of Judea and Samaria. This and other conditions would eventually lead to a disastrous revolt against Rome. These are the rulers. These are the procurators in order. First, we had Fadus, 44 to 46. Then we had Tiberius Julius Alexander, 46 to 48. Then we had Ventidius Cumanus, 48 to 52. Cumanus. I looked up these words yesterday, and I already forgot a lot of them. And I think I left the tabs open. Bear with me. Is that Cumanus? Because I think it's Cumanus. Not that it really matters. It's not a big deal. Whatever. I just don't like to say I'm wrong. Well, if I left the tabs open, they sure are taking a while to load. Here we go.
Ventidius Cumanus was the
Ventidius Cumanus. Okay, so am I still live? I didn't mess anything up, I hope. Ventidius Cumanus. He ruled from 48 to 52 AD. Then we have Felix, 52 to 60 AD, okay? And you can actually reference Acts 24, 1 through 27 for more information on Felix's reign, I guess you might call it, rule. Then you have Festus from 60 to 62 AD, and you can reference Acts 25, okay, chapter 25. Then you have Albinus, 62 to 64 AD, okay, we're getting up close to all the stuff hitting the fan. Albinus, 62 to 64, and then we have Gessius Florus, 64 to 66. Those are the Roman procurators, a succession of bad procurators over the territory of Judea and Samaria. Now, of these, the last two were exceedingly corrupt, greedy, ruthless. The country by this time was in an uproar, heading toward the disaster that started in the spring of 66 AD. There was enormous religious unrest, which the Romans never really understood because of their polyistic syncretism, our vocabulary word for the day. Our vocab word for the day. So the Romans never understood all the religious unrest because of their polyistic syncretism. Their polyistic syncretism did not involve so much conviction, unshakable conviction. The Jews, however, could not bend, convinced as they were that their law alone was from God and that rival religions amounted to blasphemy. In addition to the religious persecutions, there were economic problems, unfair taxes, bands of robbers roaming the country, excessive interest charged on loans, political assassinations, brutal treatment of innocent citizens, and government corruption. Well, duh, right? It was, in short, a nation ready to explode. In addition, the priesthood, which should have been leading the country spiritually, was as corrupt as everything else. The priests used violence with the people. Now, these, we just switched. We switched from talking about Roman politicians to actual priests of the Jewish faith. They were actually corrupt at this time, you know, just as bad as the Roman politicians. So the priesthood, which should have been leading the country spiritually, was as corrupt as everything else. The priests used violence with the people. They were very ready to plunder those that were weaker than themselves. And from that time, it principally came to pass that our city, Jerusalem, was greatly disordered. Okay, I didn't even realize I went into a quote. I was quoting Josephus, Antiquities 20.9.4, and I'm going to read his quote again. So the priests, quote, used violence with the people, and they were very ready to plunder those who were weaker than themselves. And from that time, it principally came to pass that our city, Jerusalem, was greatly disordered, and that all things grew worse and worse among us. Again, and that's from Josephus, the Jewish historian who worked for Rome, and his book would be Antiquities 20.9.4, where you can find that reference. Now, the spark that ignited the fire began in Caesarea, where a synagogue was desecrated by some Greeks in the month of Iyar. I did not Google that word to see if I'm pronouncing it correctly, so if I have Jewish friends who are realizing that I'm butchering the word, I sincerely apologize. Where a synagogue was desecrated by some Greeks in the month of Iyar, April to May 66. A riot broke out that spread to Jerusalem, where it was brutally put down by Justius Florus. Remember, that was the procurator who ruled from 64 to 66. He was one of the bad succession of procurators, violent, brutal. Over 3,600 people were slaughtered. Take a second. Over 3,600 people were slaughtered. Take a second. Dang. For the Jews, the break seemed complete, and sacrifice in honor of the emperor was suspended, which meant the war had begun in earnest. Josephus puts it this way, and it goes on to quote Josephus. I just want to explain one little thing. I think I posted this video in the comments of yesterday's live reading, that explained that, so you can look at that for a reference, but it explained that the Roman procurators or the Roman government would appoint the priests, and that's not how it's supposed to be. Like, that's Jewish business, and the Romans were getting into Jewish business and like meddling, saying instead of just letting them pick the next Levite priest in line or whatever, the most honorable man or whatever, however they did it, the Romans were saying, we'll pick you because we're friends with you, because you'll do what we say, you know, so that way we have our fingers up in your temple. Because, of course, the Romans were Gentiles. They were not allowed in the temple, other than perhaps like the court of Gentiles. But if they picked the priest, then they, you know, that's one way of sticking their fingers in the temple. So they told the priests that they appointed that they had to sacrifice a daily sacrifice on behalf of Rome. Okay, so not just a sacrifice, daily sacrifice on behalf of, you know, their own people, but now they have to sacrifice on behalf of their oppressors. So that is where this line here comes into play. For the Jews, the break with Rome seemed complete, like we're done with you, and sacrifice in honor of the emperor was suspended, which meant that the war had begun in earnest. And Josephus puts it this way, and I'm going to quote Josephus now. And at this time, it was that some of those principally excited the people to go to war, made an assault upon a certain fortress called Masada. That's the fortress of Masada. Which way to center it up? There you go. Masada. Okay, that's an aerial view of the mountaintop fortress of Masada in the Judean wilderness. So, made an assault. So the Jewish people made an assault upon a certain fortress called Masada. They took it by treachery and slew the Romans that were there and put others of their own party to keep it. At the same time, Eleazar, son of Ananias, the high priest, a very bold youth who was at that time governor of the temple, persuaded those that officiated in the divine service to receive no gift or sacrifice for any foreigner. And this was the true beginning of our war with the Romans, for they rejected the sacrifice of Caesar on this account. And when many of the high priests and principal men besought them not to omit the sacrifice, which it was customary of them to offer for their princes, they would not be prevailed upon. So the more corrupt, or the more, maybe not even corrupt, maybe just the more willing to compromise, the priests, they were more willing to say, look, we don't want war. We don't want more people being slaughtered. Let's just do what the Romans tells us. Or maybe they just, maybe they weren't, quote unquote, peacemakers, weren't willing to compromise. Maybe they were just full out corrupt. I don't know. But they were like, please keep sacrificing for Rome. Just do it. We've been doing it for how many years? Just keep doing it. And the others that were had more unshakable convictions were like, no, we're done. We're done with Rome. We're done. And so they would not be prevailed upon. And that's the end of the quotation. And you can find that in the reference War 2.17.2. I think that's it for the day. I think that's it, right? Second Temple, Judaism. Should I keep reading? Nah. During the next 3 years, the Romans systematically destroyed the country. The Jews occasionally met with some success against the battle-hardened Roman legions, but in the end were no match for them, in large part because they were fighting among themselves. By the summer of 69, all that remained to the Jews were Jerusalem, Herodium, Masada, and Machaerus. A civil war in Rome and the suicide of Nero in 69 caused Vespasian, hold on, I googled this. Vespasian, the Roman general, to back off his conquest of Jerusalem. And in July 69, he was proclaimed emperor when he departed for Rome. I'm going to read that again because I lost myself in the pronunciation of Vespasian. A civil war in Rome and the suicide of Nero in 69 caused Vespasian, the Roman general, to back off his conquest of Jerusalem. And in July 69, he was proclaimed emperor when he departed for Rome. But in the spring of 70, he sent his son Titus to finish the destruction of Jerusalem. And with 4 legions of soldiers, Titus accomplished the task. It took about 4 months for them to break through the walls, one by one, and ultimately subdue the city. It was completely leveled, with the exception of a few towers and walls to show how mighty the city had once been and how invincible the Romans were. The siege of the city was horrible. All of Nehemiah's work gone down the toilet. The siege of the city was horrible, almost beyond description, and the slaughter of people when it fell was excruciatingly brutal. Thousands were tortured, crucified, or sold into slavery, and the city was left in absolute ruin. Well, that's a downer. I hate to end on that note, but now I'm sad. That's sad. And that's sad. Okay, I wasn't expecting to end on such a downer. I'm a little depressed now. Y'all have a good day. And maybe I'll take tomorrow off. I don't know. I usually do this when I can, and my kids are actually out for the weekend. So maybe I will do this tomorrow because I'll actually have the free time. I ran out of stuff to talk about. Bye, guys. Got the whole world in it. It's got the whole wide world. Todo el mundo.